Hi there, my name is Ron Rogers, and this video is titled Tales from the Antenna Range. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I was lead engineer in the microwave technology group for the Boeing Military Aircraft Company in the early 80s out of Wichita, Kansas. And although it was my title was lead engineer of the microwave technology group, I actually was involved in essentially DC to light, we used to say. And one of the interesting things was when I was involved as a lead engineer, I got to see the scheduling sheet. And yeah, nothing fancy electronic. This was all on paper. We didn't have computers back then. No internet. I tell you, this is the dark ages. Yes. So I saw the scheduling sheet and it went out to 4 months and then it just stopped. And I go, oh my gosh, what is this? We're all out of a job in 4 months? And my boss says, no, 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 no. We always get something new. And we always did. So that was good. But I worked on a number of projects, and one of them was a method of communicating in very difficult times. And one of the ways you do that is by very low frequency signals. High power but low frequencies, and you'd have aircraft like a KC-135 with the trailing wire antenna, and these antenna would go out sometimes 30,000 feet. Okay, we're talking almost 6 miles of wire, and the one I was working on was actually a dual wire setup, a longer one and a shorter one, to give you a little bit of directionality, if you will, to kind of point the thing. Now, the interesting part about this was the antenna tuner in there being very low frequency. Of course, you had the transmitter and the tuner. The antenna tuner took up about half of the KC-135. And earlier in my career, when I was a pilot out at the Flight Test Center in Edwards, we had some of these 135s come out there for tests because you trail this wire out and you can have instabilities. That's why you have a cone there and just stick to the wire. And of course, the cone helps pull it out. But the the wire could become unstable. So you had to flight test it to make sure you didn't get any problems, and especially having two wires, you didn't want them wrapping around each other. But they had a big note in test ops because you know, uh, we were boys with our toys, and we had a little bit tendency to sometimes jump other aircraft for fun. Let's put it that way. Um, and they said, do not jump the KC-135 because you're likely to tangle up in its antenna. Big warning, don't do that. And there are a couple different ways to do trailing wire antennas. This one is it actually stows away. You can hide it. And here's another position. So you just reel this thing out when you want to come in and land. Of course, you can't be trailing a 6 mile long wire, so you have to reel the back thing in. So that was an interesting problem. One of many, and this was in the very low frequency end of the spectrum. Now, one thing interesting about being on tech staff is you work a lot of issues. It never gets boring. Some of these projects literally can be a day or they can be months. I was sent for a week to Boeing Vertol out in Philadelphia. Now, that is the helicopter division that was responsible in Boeing for developing the Osprey, the V-22. So I did the placement of all the antennas, the initial placement. I'm sure they moved things around. I did the initial placement of all the antennas on this aircraft. Of course, you have the UHF, the VHF, the HF, and there was a system for picking up a downed aviator, a bunch of antennas on the bottom where you could home in on them in essentially zero weather conditions. So this was a real nice capability to pick up a downed person or to extract people by use of locator beacons. Another project I got to work on was we needed to put a SATCOM antenna on a KC-135, actually an EC, the electronic version of the 135. Now, no matter how big you make an aircraft, they will find a way to totally cover it with antennas. And I thought my initial thing on this was, not a problem. I got a big aircraft. This is an 18-inch antenna. No problem. Well, in the end, to put the antenna where I needed to put it, I had to move two other antennas. So that was kind of an unfortunate thing of having to put this on and move two, but it's what you needed to do. It's a crowded airplane. Now, one little fun fact is a lot of the people in our group were ham radio operators, and I'm a ham radio operator, KC0ZN. Have been one since the late 70s. I'm extra class, and my station has been dormant for about the last 25 years. I live on a very small lot, and it wasn't conducive to putting up a decent antenna. So I've got a location here where I can put up an antenna off-site, let's call it that, on some property that I have. And it doesn't quite look like it, but we're up at 50 feet here. That's me on the left and Ken on the right, putting together the antenna, raising it up. And there's me. You know, when you get to be 73, you still need to have a lot of fun and play with heights and stuff like that. And this is the finished product of the antenna with a 2-meter vertical, a 11 element 2-meter beam, and then, for people who know about ham radio, a Mosley TA33 3-element beam, good for 10, 15, and 20 meters. And there's my ham station in quite a bit of disarray. I've just kind of put stuff there and going to be setting it up. But that's one of my nice retirement projects. Oh, on the side there, there's a homebrew linear and a Johnson Viking Thunderbolt 2 kilowatt linear. So that's my retirement hobby. Thanks for watching.